Okay guys, I'm back. Okay, so this is the second video in a series on setting permissions in PowerShell. And you remember in the last one I showed you how to set the permissions with a revoke, right? I showed you how to revoke execute permissions from SPs, and I showed you how to read all of the I showed you how to read the output so you can read the overloads and tell which object permission set to use, right? Well, here I'm going to show you how to trap those errors, and because the errors that we were getting back were just horrendous, right? If you don't remember that, or if you didn't watch the first video, then these two are linked together in a series. So go back and watch that first video and then come back in here and do this one, because there's no need for me to double up on it, right? However, I will say that in the last video I did everything at the command line, and here I'm going to do everything in a script, because now we're getting past the point. And while you could do this, while you could do everything at the command line, it helps to have some formatting and some color coding and all of that stuff, right? So we're getting past the point where we want everything stretched across a single line in a command line. It gets really hard to read. So I took everything we did there and I put it in here. So you see here, the first thing I do is I change directory to the stored procedures context, right there. I set cache equal to the object permission set. I set cache.execute to true. I set cache account to yo mama, haha, and then I do my directory, and I pipe that to my for each, and I call the revoke with cache and cache account, right? I also print the name to the screen, and I call the alter method. Now, actually, I'm sorry, I forgot that in the first video. You need to call the alter method on this. If you don't call the alter method, then the permission change won't be persisted to the server. It'll only be persisted in that current PowerShell session, right? So here, let me bring this back up. Where are we? Let's see if I can find that. So at the command line, what I should have done after I called the revoke was a semicolon and then call the alter, because that's what's going to make it actually alter the object on the server. Otherwise it's not going to take. So anyway, I meant to do that before. I just forgot. Okay, so now we're on the right page now, right? We're everywhere we need to be. And just to show you, let's go ahead and say semicolon. What did I call that file? I call it revoke sp perms. And so there we go. That works just like the last one did, right? I'm just printing the two to the screen as I do it. But let's say we have an error. So I'm going to trap these errors. Let's go ahead and comment this out. And let's change this to 2 again. Let's save that. There we go. And I get my same very unfriendly error messages that just tell me that the call failed, and that was it, right? Sorry, I lost my train of thought. The dog came over and shook on me. Okay, so I changed this back to 2. I saved that. Okay, yeah. So friendly error messages. Let's go ahead and uncomment this so that you can see what we're doing here. Save that again. Now let's run that same thing. Let me make sure yep, it's still messed up. That same thing again. Only this time, look, I get that the revoke failed for that SP. An exception occurred with a T-SQL statement cannot find the user YoMama2 because it does not exist or do not have permission. Now that is something I can work with, right? That tells me why it failed, right? And the database sends back these InnerExceptions. That's why you have to trap the errors like this. Now let's look through the trap, right? I trap error equals underscore cache underscore dot exception, right? And then I just print the error message. So I'm printing that first error message. But also, while error.InnerException, because there can be several inner exceptions, right? So while there are inner exceptions, is what that means, error equals error.InnerException, and then I'm just going to write the output of error. So what I'm saying here is write the initial error message, which is this guy right here, right? Then, if there are inner exceptions, or as long as there are inner exceptions, because, you know, theoretically there could be, you know, 1 to 200, you know, 0 to 200, right? You won't ever find that many. I'm just saying, in theory, you could have as many inner exceptions as you need. So we need to put, as they need, so we put that in a loop and say, now we're setting error equal to .InnerException, right? So while there are inner exceptions, write all of their messages to the screen. And it's that simple. So let's look at just this one message. If I take this loop out and comment the loop out, oh, sorry, hold it. I shouldn't have commented out this one. There we go. Because I still want to continue, right? I could continue or break there. Let's come here. There we go. So now I just get revoke failed for SP. Okay, that's great. But you notice where you see where those inner exceptions come from now, right? You get you got 2 other inner exceptions in there, and you want to print them both so you know what's going on. Now let's look at the other one. Let's change this back. Let's save it. Let's clear the screen. There we go. And let's... Okay, so it works again. I'm just proving that it works again. Now let's set this to false. I'll just use 0 this time. So now we're not setting any permissions, right? And it told me that revoke failed for SP. Well, I wonder if I can get any deeper information on that by turning this guy on. Where am I? Uncomment. So I got that same first exception, right, that I got before, just the revoke failed. Everything is saved. Okay, let's try it. So it says here, no permissions have been specified. So you see, what I said in that first video was true, right? When you're setting up cache A and you're setting these guys, you're just setting the permissions that you want the revoke method to work with, right? That's all you're doing. Now let's change this to insert, because can you set insert permissions on an SP? I think not. And I'll show you what that looks like. And it says here no permissions have been specified. Well, that's true. Oh, sorry. I need to set that to 1, don't I? There we go. There we go. And it says granted or revoked privilege insert is not compatible with the object. Well, there you go. So I can't set insert permissions on an SP. So now you can see exactly what you're doing when you go, oh, hell, I'm trying to set insert. I need to be setting execute. There we go. That's better. Now everything works just fine, right? So the moral of the story here is, A, this object permission set doesn't work the same as the scripting options did in the advanced scripting video. In there, if you remember, you turn options on and off, and then you just pass them in there, and it sets the options that you turn on, right? And it sets the options to what you have the flags in the permission set. This one, you turn on the ones you want to work with, okay? And then you call the method to set the permission to the way you want it to be set, but without any of them turned on, it's not going to do anything. And so this trap method is how you catch the exceptions coming from the database and all of the inner exceptions. So you've seen how important it can be, and it can save you a lot of time, because maybe you didn't call the method properly, maybe you maybe you got the account wrong, maybe, and that could be something as simple as you're in the wrong database, right? You're on the wrong server. It could be a number of reasons why the account is wrong, but at least now you know where to go look that up, right? You could be, calling the wrong, you could be trying to set the wrong permission. You could have no permission set on. So there you go. That is how to trap those errors coming from the database, and good luck.